Jim. Welcome to my booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. This video is a quick update about what I'm reading and what I've read in the month of July. The first book I read in the month of July was Atomic Habits by James Clear. Actually, I didn't read this, I listened to this on audio. I don't usually listen to audiobooks. This was on YouTube and I listened to that. But it was an interesting book. I don't usually read self-help books, but I like this one. It had some interesting ideas. It talks about not setting goals. It's more about the processes. You create good habits and you try to eliminate bad habits. Part of this is by setting up the geography of your room, of your life, so you can see to do the good habits easily and the bad habits are more difficult. And this is my workspace, and I have books I want to read close to hand, like here Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey. I also have my sketchbook close to hand in case I want to practice drawing. Quick look at my sketchbook. Here's Snoopy, the helicopter. Here's a scene. The D tag with Donald Duck, pigeon. Attempts to draw sort of manga style characters. A manga style guy in a face mask. This is a cat and a butterfly. A woman in the rain. Spider-Man. With good habits you want things close to hand which will enhance your good habits, and for bad habits you want them difficult to get. I'm quite a sucker for chocolates. I do have some chocolates, but I've put the chocolates, this is way up there in that Matchbox Race and Chase. There's some chocolates. There are only the pursued, the pursuing, the busy and the tired. This month I reread The Great Gatsby. This was in preparation for a new book coming out called The Pursued and the Pursuing by Odasso. Odasso imagines the story of Great Gatsby continuing with Nick and Gatsby having a romantic relationship, and the story takes us to the 30s when the two men adopt Pam, who is the daughter of Daisy Buchanan from the original novel. The problem with adding to any of the classics of American literature or any literature is it's going to have a hard act to follow, and I didn't think it quite held up to the strength of the original, but it was interesting nevertheless. I also read A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. LeGuin. It's the first time I read Ursula K. LeGuin. I missed her out when I was going through my science fiction phase in the 80s, the early 80s. But at that time I didn't read many women authors at all, apart from Anne McCaffrey. Now, about 3/4 of what I read so far this year have been female authors. 1993, half a lifetime ago, I was living in France. These are some of the books I read. A biography of Orwell, The Listeners, Declining English Murder, Un Certain Sourire, Silberman. There's a Dick Francis, First Blood, The Shining, Le Voyageur Imprudent. That was a time travel book in French. A lot of these were in French. I was living in Seine-et-Marne at the time. I read Stephen King in French, Le Peau sous la Hausse, which was thinner. Ruth Rendell, Execution Protocol by Stephen Trombley was interesting. Behold the Man, great book by Michael Moorcock. Tenant of Wildfell Hall, Naval Cradling, Brian Keenan. Ripley Underground, I think this is the first Patricia Highsmith I read. I was so impressed I read a few more straight after. Beastly Murder. This was where animals are the killers. The Boy Who Followed Ripley. A Wizard of Earthsea is a fantasy book. It's about a young wizard who goes to wizard school, and this was written in 1967, which was 3 decades before Harry Potter came on the scene. It's an interesting young adult fantasy book. During his schooling, Ged is provoked by another young wizard, and he tries to summon up the spirit of the dead, and he ends up going into a dark place and coming out with a shadow which is to haunt him for the rest of the book. The rest of the book is his odyssey, first fleeing from the shadow and then chasing the shadow to try to master his own destiny. It's a coming-of-age story of a young wizard. I also read A Winter of Darkness by Melinda Woodhall, another new author to me. It's a police procedural novel. It's one in a series with Veronica Lee, who's an investigative reporter series. The book is a real page-turner. It starts with the action in a cellar in Montana where 2 girls are being held captive by a person called the Professor. Meanwhile in Florida, there's been a spate of girls going missing, young women going missing, and the two are connected. And yeah, I'm really enjoying police procedurals at the moment. I want to read more by Melinda Woodhall. She had me gripped from the beginning to the end. July, of course, is Jane Austen July, and I'm reading Northanger Abbey. About 100 pages in. I haven't been very dedicated to Jane Austen July this month. I think I should finish this by the end of the month. It's interesting. It's a story of Catherine Morland, who reads a lot of Gothic fiction, and this influences the way she sees the world. And her friend Isabella doesn't seem to be a very good friend to her. Yesterday I started Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, which is in the African American vernacular. It's a fascinating story set in the 1930s about this woman who's had several marriages. She's looking to get married for a 3rd time. She's lived in New York and Florida, and being African American, she has a very difficult past. The 3rd book I'm currently reading, I'm really excited about, is The Cartographer's Secret by T. Cooper. This comes out in November. It's historical fiction. It's set in Australia. There are 2 timeline narratives, one in 1880 and one in 1911. And it's about this family who are looking to discover what happened to the explorer Leichhardt. Leichhardt was a German explorer of Australia, and I'm familiar with Leichhardt because my friend Christoph Altmann in 1988 was travelling in a motorcycle, a BMW motorcycle across Australia in what he believed to be the path of Leichhardt. So this book has got my name written on it. It's really good, and it's an e-arc I got from NetGalley, and it's due out in November. 2 books on my July TBR which I haven't yet got to. The Gambler by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and also Mystery by Peter Straub. So that's an update of what I'm reading. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe below, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.